The phrase stroke cap refers to the way the ends of a line are drawn. When we draw a thin line, we usually don't care what the ends look like because we can't see them. The line just starts and ends. But when we have a very thick line, we can actually see what's happening at the ends of the line. Processing gives us 3 ways to treat what's happening at the end of a stroke. Each style is called a stroke cap. Let's look at them. Here's a little sketch I've made out of lines, along with one circle just for fun. At the bottom, we have 3 vertical lines, and the one in the middle just touches the bottom of the circle. There's a big horizontal line in the middle, and at the top are 4 separate lines that join up at their ends. These strokes are all 1 pixel thick, so their ends don't really matter. Now, suppose that we redraw these using thick strokes. I'll draw exactly the same lines, but thicker. I'm drawing these with garish colors so you can really see what's going on. These are exactly the same lines as before, only now their weight has gone up from 1 pixel to 80. I'll turn back on the original lines so we can see them. Every line now is being drawn twice. For example, the purple line in the middle is generated with exactly the same line command as the thin black line inside it. The purple line just has a different stroke weight, color, and cap style. Take a look at the 3 orange lines at the bottom. Each of these thick strokes begins and ends exactly where the thin stroke begins and ends, but the ends are butted off, as though we'd sawn them from wood. Here's one effect of that. If you look at where the line touches the circle, you can see little gaps on both sides, because the thick line stops at the bottom of the circle. Look at the purple line in the middle. The stroke cap on this line extends beyond the length of the stroke. In fact, the purple stroke is symmetrical all the way around the little black line that generated it. Finally, at the top we have 4 thick strokes with circles on their ends. To see the circles, I'm going to make all these colors partly transparent. You can see here why circles are the default style. They make lines that share an endpoint appear to join up smoothly. Let's turn transparency back off, and now I'll change up the styles. You can see we get a very different looking image. It's exactly the same lines, and they're even the same colors. I'm just changing the treatment on the ends of the lines. If we make the strokes transparent, and you look at the lines on the top, you can see how they overlap. These red ones give you a kind of cellophane tape effect. Let's mix up the ends one more time. Now we get a whole different style. Let's turn on the transparency, and you can see that things are overlapping each other a little bit. I'll turn the transparency back off. The M shape at the top looks like it was made out of a set of hinged boxes. Finally, I'll go back to our first version. Just by changing the treatment at the start and end of the thick strokes, we can really change how the picture looks. Let's look at each of these 3 styles more closely. I'll show each option's effect on this thick stroke. Just 1 thick stroke from left to right. But I want you to see where the line really begins and ends, and you can't tell that if you just look at the stroke. So I'm going to draw this little yellow guideline. This is just a little device for this video, so we can see the endpoints of the thick stroke we're drawing. The yellow line begins and ends at the same points as the thick stroke. The thick stroke now has sharp corners that begin and end right where the yellow line begins and ends. To create this style of stroke cap, we call the routine stroke cap. It's all one word with a capital C in the middle. Stroke cap takes a single keyword as an argument. For this example, the keyword is square. It's a keyword, so it's all capitals. If you call stroke cap square just like this, from now on, every line you draw, whether it's a line by itself, a line you draw with begin shape, any line at all, that line will have these sharp corners at both ends. To see this more clearly, let's get rid of the little yellow guideline, and there's the stroke we would draw. Let's take a look at another treatment. So we'll blow away the keyword square, and I'll add a new treatment to the ends of the line. Circles. You set this mode by calling stroke cap round, where again round is a keyword in all capital letters. If we get rid of the little yellow guideline, we can see the stroke itself. This is the default mode, so if you never call Stroke Cap, every stroke will have these nice circular ends. This almost always looks great. I use this style 99% of the time. Let's bring back the yellow guideline and look at the third option. We'll get rid of the keyword round and blow off the circles at the ends and introduce the third style. Squares. Stroke Cap will automatically draw a little square at each end. Now you can see why I've been drawing that little yellow guideline, because we can clearly see that in this style, the colored pixels extend beyond the edge of the line itself. Now you might think that this style should be called Stroke Cap Square, and that would make sense, but we've already used the word square. So we can look at this and say, well, it looks like the ends are projecting a little bit is leaving an even bigger gap. So that's why we choose this mode with the keyword project. Note that this isn't project, as in I'm going to make a birdhouse, it will be a fun project, but rather project, meaning to extend beyond. If we get rid of the little yellow guideline, we can see that Stroke Cap Project creates a line that might look like Stroke Cap Square, but now we know it's actually sticking out beyond the ends. Let's now look at how these three styles look for groups of lines that join up. I'll begin by revisiting all three styles. First, we have the square style, then the round style, and the project style. We can see from here that these are three different ways to draw a line. Now let's draw a second line, and we can see what happens when the second line begins where the first point ends, so that the lines join up. You can see that in the square style, we have a gap where the line turns a corner. The round style is nice and smooth, because the round style is always smooth. In the project style, we can see little squares sticking out beyond the ends of the line, creating a little bow tie effect on the outside of the outer corners. Let's take a look at these without the yellow guidelines. It's even more obvious that these three styles create very different types of joined up lines. Let's try another one. Now I'm going to make an angle of just about 90 degrees with the next set of lines. Let's bring them in. Tell you what, let's get rid of the yellow stroke right away. You can see that the gap produced by the square is even larger. The outside of the lines produced by round is gorgeous. And there's almost nothing wrong with the lines produced by project, because the squares overlap. Let's draw one more line, but this time at a very sharp angle. We can now see the same phenomena are happening again. Square is leaving an even bigger gap. Round looks gorgeous as always. And project is creating these little extensions at the ends. All three of these styles have their place, and I've used them all in sketches over the years. But 99% of the time, I use the round default, and I suspect you will too. But for the times when you want to control the ends of your lines more carefully, now you have more options.